An unfortunate crash and a quintuple race for second place. Yes, I had to Google that word. This is the T100 Grand Final men's edition of the race to Qatar. We are into Qatar today, and after Dubai, the standings look like this, with Gregory Barnaby being the last one inside the top 10, and the entire top 10 is here on this race, including some favorites like Hayden Wilde and Jelle Keens and Mika Noot. All three can still win the title, but Jelle Keens is more likely than Mika Noot, and Hayden Wilde, if he wins or podiums this race, he is guaranteed this victory. And it all starts with the swim. We see the race course right here. 2 laps are 1 kilometer, so a very standard course, but the conditions were rough for the women and for the men as well. And so as they get underway, we see the waves, they are quite big. And so if you are a good swimmer, you absolutely need these conditions. 25.9 degrees water temperature as well, so a pretty hot one. And Morgan Pearson led from the beginning of this race, and at the back straight we see the athletes really struggling against the current. It was really strong, and so it didn't really split, with Vincent Louis moving on to the other exit as first place and Morgan Pearson behind him with Sam Dickinson in third. And where are the big favorites? Well, Hayden Wilde, Mika Noot and Rico Bogen would lose some time, but only around 10 to 15 seconds, and so it was on. But unfortunately for them, it split over the second half of the swim course, and so as they got out of the water into transition, Hayden Wilde, Rico Bogen and Mika Noot got caught behind and were in a second group together with Mathis Magirier, while the front 8 came out around half a minute in front of them. Morgan Pearson, over this huge run to transition and with a quick transition, was able to get out first into the bike, with Sam Dickinson following him just behind and Hayden Wilde coming out with Rico Bogen and Mika Noot in his tow. So a good amount of firepower on the bike to catch up to the front group. We look at the course, really flat course, really straightforward course as well, typical Middle Eastern wide roads, and so it was all about trying to stay away from Hayden Wilde. We have a big group now on the bike course, and Jelle Keens gets overtaken here by Hayden Wilde, and so we know that he was absolutely on a move, and just after 30 kilometers Hayden Wilde was already at the front, and he brought quite a few guys with him, making this a 10-man front group at some point, with Rico Bogen having a big scare going into this corner. He maybe went in a bit too hot. I also think if you look at the road, there is a bit of dust, probably a bit of sand on the road, so this certainly didn't help. Sand obviously a big issue on these Middle Eastern courses, even if you try to clean them the day before. With the wind that you see on the flags here, there's always a chance that sand will get onto the bike course again, and he checked himself out. He didn't have any scratches, and initially I thought it looked worse than it actually is, and it also was a bit of that, because he didn't really have any trouble on the run. Although he didn't have the greatest run, he decided to continue. The front group whittled down though, and it was really hard, as you see here, with Jelle Keens, who now is also losing a bit of ground to the first guys. We've only got 6 guys left, and Jelle Keens is struggling here. You see his body position, you see how he's looking, and you also have to see his face. He's really working hard, but he is unfortunately suffering from the pace of not Hayden Wilde, surprisingly, but Mathis Magirier, who knows that he needs to kind of get rid of some guys for a good result here, because he just doesn't have the run. Jelle Keens, you see his face here, he is really working hard, but he's already 43 seconds behind, and at the next checkpoint, even almost a minute behind the front of this race. Sam Dickinson is with a little front group. His companions are Sam Dickinson and also Jonas Schomburg. He's 1 minute 44 behind, and he's doing a good job to limit his losses for him to still be in a good position for the run. Now, this is something I noticed, and I think it's a big reason why Hayden Wilde is so good at what he does on the bike. You see him here, he is going through this corner in the aero bars, while Mathis Magirier in front is on the base bars. So Hayden obviously going faster. You see him catch up here, and look at the different lines that these guys take. Mathis going very, very, very tight into this corner, and Hayden just opens this corner up. He's able to almost pedal through the entirety of the corner, and as he comes out of this corner combination, he's right behind Mathis Magirier. So a really, really, really good technical aspect as well that Hayden Wilde brings into his biking. And so He also overtakes Matthijs with just 10 kilometers to go. And if we look at the gaps, Jelle Geens losing over 1.5 minutes almost, and Sam Dickinson and his group losing almost 2 minutes. Rico Bogen, though, he is really smart. He always does this. 10 kilometers out, he moves to the front. He wasn't at the front the entirety of this bike leg, but he moves to the front, overtaking some guys because he knows he needs to have good position to get into transition at the front in order to really have a gap onto the run course. Somebody we did not see for a very long time, but who actually just about hung on, was Martin van Riel. He said he struggled and he made it to the front group and he stuck with them for the entirety of the bike ride, always at the back. So really well done from him. And as they come on the transition, Hayden Wilde, he is now a bit further away from Rico Bogen than Rico might like. We see the overhead here. This is more than 20 meters. The times are obviously insanely fast. Matthijs Magirier with the fastest time, and the front group is only 5 guys left. Jelle Geens is with Sam Dickinson in a group, and everybody behind them loses over 5 minutes to a flying Hayden Wilde, who also gets out of transition in first place, with Martin van Riel being the last of the front group to get onto the run course, which is again 6 laps, very straightforward one, very flat one to finish off the season. Hayden Wilde starting out relatively conservative, and we see right here a lot of athletes just in the line, and Martin van Riel after a few kilometers has already caught up to Matthijs Magirier, but Morgan Pearson, how would his run be? He overtook Jelle Geens very soon as Matthijs Magirier and Martin van Riel caught up to the next guy, Mika Not, and so we think Morgan might be able to get into a podium place here, but that's still a long way because we're only 3 kilometers into the run, so a lot can happen. But this graphic right here surprised me and surprised a lot of people. Morgan running sub 3-minute Ks. At this point, you see him absolutely storming here, and he is now only 2 minutes behind, so maybe he can even challenge for the win, we think, but that's obviously still a long way to go. This group of 3 is now closing in though on the guy in front of them, which is Rico Bogen, and after around 7 kilometers they can see him on this big stretch of road, and suddenly you have another position coming into play. So these athletes essentially race for second place. The feed zone was a bit of a mess though for Martin van Riel, who tries to get his own bottle though, misses that, so he needs to step back and loses a bit of time here. You see he obviously gets distance a little bit, but he makes it back just as they catch Rico Bogen onto this little rising section here on this run course. Basically the only time it actually goes uphill, and they make this a 4-people run group with Morgan Pearson chasing them. He's now only around 20 seconds behind, and he can see them very soon after, and we know at this point he will catch them for sure. And that's what he does very soon after, but he decides not to stay with them, but just go over them straight away because he's just so much faster. And we see now who is actually trying to stay with him, and the only person that tries is Matthijs Magirier, Mika Not, and the other guys. They try to fall back and go their own pace, but Matthijs, he's got some balls, he's showing them, and he's trying to stick with Morgan, but just a few 100 meters later the elastic already snapped and Matthijs overextended at this period, and so he gets distanced from Morgan Pearson and slowly but surely getting reeled back in by a very good pacer that Mika Not is. And at this rise where Rico Bogen was caught the lap before, he is now just losing touch with this run group, who catches back up to Matthijs, and so they move on to the final lap. Hayden Wilde moves on to his final lap, and Matthijs is suddenly dropped after just 16 kilometers of holding on with the front group for second place. He's now getting distanced, and here Martin makes his move. We see on the camera of Hayden Wilde, he makes his move for second place. Mika Not has no way to respond, but Hayden Wilde is moving onto the finish line, a deserved world champion, a deserved 6th victory, the perfect season for this guy, and a total domination with Morgan Pearson, a flying Morgan Pearson, finishing in second place with an incredible swim-run combo again. Martin van Riel, after a frustrating season, after a frustrating Dubai, he kind of gets this with a bit of a good result at the end, and Jelle Geens, he had a disappointing day, only finishing in 7th place. Yuri Koilen was 10th, Jonas Schaumburg and Sam Dickinson in front of him, with Rico Bogen 6th place and Mathis Magirier and Mika Not off the podium. Hayden Wilde, though, he wins the World Championship title with Mika Not and Jelle Geens in 2nd and 3rd place for this season. These are the full standings. Gregory Barnaby in 10th with 90 points, Yuri Koilen and Sam Dickinson in 8th and 9th place, Mathis Magirier and Martin van Riel 7 and 6, with Rico Bogen, Morgan Pearson being the other guys off the podium. I hope you liked this race, and I will see you soon with some more videos. Consider subscribing. Bye bye.